What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital. What another beautiful day in the market. Some really nice green action. Today we're going to talk about all things price action, and I'm also going to talk to you about my GLBE trade that I took today that is currently marking at a 27% winner on day one. That trade was shared in real time with all Pristine Capital members. So let's dive in. Before we do that, quick first disclaimer: nothing in the video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Always follow your own trading plan, your own risk parameters. Don't YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades or anyone's trades for that matter. All right, so indices. Take a look at these box scores. Looking absolutely fantastic. We have the S&P 500 finishing up over 2%. NASDAQ QQQ is up 2.59%. The small caps led the NASDAQ up 3.06%. Dogs of the Dow only up 1.34%. And the ARK Innovation ETF, which I still am long my January of 2023 calls, was up 5.02%. All of these indices closed at the very top end of their day's range, and we had a nice volatility contraction across the board. Not to mention the breadth was very strong. IWM small caps, we had 93% advancers. My trend model is still at a +1. And yeah, this market action, it is fantastic to see. At Pristine Capital, this is what we've been preparing for the last week or two. If you watched this weekend's video, I actually put out the Pristine Capital weekend market analysis video. And yeah, all the signs were pretty much there. We had capitulatory selling, sentiment was extremely negative. We even had signs like Warren Buffett, being the most active he's been in years, in Q1 actually buying stocks. So yeah, there were a bunch of indicators pointing to this market upside. And let's look at this. Oh my gosh, we have Apple up 2.54%. Tesla had a big day, up over 5%, Amazon as well, Nvidia. But surprisingly, the consumer defensives were actually the weakest sector of the market. And it is remarkable. The dynamic that I am noticing in real time is, get this is basically like bizarro land right now. All of the growth stocks, which everyone has been selling because they're too highly valued, those are now so sold off that they are cheaply valued. And a lot of the names like the consumer defensives, the utilities, those are actually getting, in my opinion, pretty overvalued because those are the groups that everyone has been allocating into because they are too scared to be in the other parts of the market. Case in point, Coca-Cola right now has a price to earnings ratio of like 28, and Google has a price to earnings ratio of 22. So there is a lot that can get dislocated in the markets in a very short period of time. And it has to do with these algorithms and the way that they transact, and really these systematic buying and selling programs that they can take trends that should be in place and really just exacerbate them to the point where they don't really make all that much sense. Now, if you're looking at today's price action and you're getting excited, you're getting giddy, you're feeling amazing, let's just give you that little reality check. This was yesterday's heat map. And remember, yesterday when the market was trading a little bit down, this is where, hey, you don't want to get too down. The market's had a big move in a few days. I would say the same thing for today's price action. If tomorrow looks more like this, you shouldn't be, throwing a tantrum or getting upset. The market rarely moves in a straight line the way we would want it to in a perfect world. All right, let's take a look at our sectors. We had KWeb, Chinese internet names. They were up another 3.22%. Semiconductors were very strong. I'm going to have some charts at the end of the video. We'll go through those. And take a look. The solar stocks were strong as well. Biotech was up 4.38%. We're seeing this really violent bottoming action in a lot of those risk-on areas of the market. Style factors, momentum was up 2.38%. High beta was our best performer, up 3.38%. Now today we did have some retail sales data that came out in the morning, and the retail sales data pretty much came out right in line with estimates. So for all the doomsdayers out there, you'll have to wait for another day for the crash. We also had Powell that spoke at 2 p.m. today, and I knew there wasn't really going to be much different that he was going to say because since the last time that he spoke, the only real thing that's changed is we got inflation data that came out last week, and it was our first sequential slowdown in the inflation data. So given that's the case, is he going to come out and say things that are more hawkish? No, because the inflation data is showing the first signs of starting to play ball with the Fed mandate. All right, let's take a look at our technicals on the S&P 500. Again, remember my trend model is at a +1. And that is really my North Star in how I want to operate within the markets and how I want to whip around my net exposure. We've been talking about this at length. This was like such a panic bottom right here. And I think there's still a ton of players that are in cash, because I did not see the typical victory laps on Twitter that you get when the market goes up a lot. But take a look, we have our teal downward trend line. If you've been watching these videos, we've been tracking this thing for a while. This thing is pretty much undefeated. There have been a couple of squeezes above the teal trend line, but so far each one has failed. I've been fully allocated in the market really since this green candle right here. And as we get closer and closer to the 20-day simple moving average, which is this pink line right here, I'm perfectly fine being fully allocated in the market. But I think the natural course of action is that most retail investors and traders, they're too scared to enter the market. They have PTSD. Every time the market has like a little bit of like a downtick, they get really scared, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be the crash everyone's been telling me about, or like this is the big one. What's going to happen is, as the market keeps going, as we hit into resistance, that is likely where a lot of retail players will decide to get bullish on the market. Now, that's not to say like, oh, I'm just going to flip bearish and like short into the 20-day simple moving average. But at this point, I'm not really like aggressively like adding to longs anymore. We had some great opportunities. Really, these three candles right here is where I was putting on a lot of exposure as the market rips, higher and higher. Again, I do not think this is a market like 2020 where when it turns, you can just keep buying stocks every single day and, we're going to switch into that market again. I really think this is a much more tactical environment where you do have to pick your spots and you do have to get solid trade location. NASDAQ in a very similar position. We are approaching this 20-day simple moving average. Where are we at in the Russell? Russell has been showing some really nice outperformance. This could be another tell. If all of a sudden we start to see like there's a day where, the NASDAQ is up and the Russell's just really weak, that could be a good signal. Hey, let me get a little bit more defensive in this market. All right, so let's talk about my trades for today. And I'm going to focus primarily on GLBE. Speaking again to just the level of capitulation that is going on in the market. GLBE, it's one of the FinTwit favorites from 2020 and 2021. Rightfully so. This is a global e-commerce company, really strong name. I did a lot of fundamental work on this company when it first IPO'd. It's growing like gangbusters, but this of course got caught in the growth slowdown, got caught in the inflationary spiral, and this thing was trading into the abyss. Now, it reported earnings last night. And when it originally reported, it was down 25%. Now, this morning, I'm going through my normal process, and I am hunting for these growth stocks that are really good companies that have just gotten so washed out. And I figured, hey, maybe GLBE meets that bill. As I looked at this stock, within the first 10 minutes of the trading session, I was like, geez, this name was at a negative 25% last night, and it's really just getting bid up very quickly. So you'll notice this is in our Pristine Capital chat that we have going throughout the day. Yeah, so I just noted here, this is at 9:52. Interesting action. Check out how quickly this dip is being bought in GLBE. And this was, very early on in the morning. You can see it was down, about 7% at this time. And look at this. Look at how much volume had gone off. As of 9:52, we almost had a full volume bar. And honestly, this thing was loading up. It was almost like if you ever have like a loading bar and you just see it like continue to move higher, it was moving very quickly. So I put, seems like someone is loading their bag up. And then what I did, I looked at the order book for GLBE, posted this in our chat as well. I noticed this name was off to the races. The cumulative volume delta was actually positive, but we were pretty extended away from the VWAP for the day at the time. So I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wait to see if this thing pulls back to the VWAP. Then what I also did, I took a look at the earnings report, and look at this. The gross merchandise value in the first quarter was an increase of 71% year over year. That's bonkers. If you've ever run a business, that's a great growth rate. Revenue, an increase of 65% year over year. Gross profit, increase of 94% year over year. So yeah, this stock, can you believe, like, these are the results. It's growing like gangbusters. And granted, this is a company I'd already done a lot of fundamental work on. You can't always just eyeball things like this and get it right. But yeah, I was like, okay, down 25% is a lot. given the background I had in these growth names and the condition that I know they're in, yeah, I went ahead and I took a big bite out of this stock. And I did have to move a few things around in order to do that. Yeah, what did I do here? I had some upstart May 20th 30 strike short puts, because that's another strategy I've been going to, selling put options in some of these beaten down growth stocks. I sold those puts for $2.10. I was able to monetize them, bought them back for only 12 cents. So nice, almost a 100% winner. And I just put here, let me enlarge this for, just so you can see it better. And yeah, premium selling has worked well for the beaten down growth stocks. I'm freeing up some buying power. I took off, I had some SPY June 17th calls, took these off for a winner as well. And I just put, I think the path of least resistance for SPY, it's still higher, but I'm taking the base hit to allocate to a new opportunity. Also good to reduce the portfolio leverage into strength. Yeah, if I'm long a ton of options as the market moves higher, typically I like to get out of those options and move towards more common stock. So I raised cash here to allocate to a new opportunity. I also closed out my TQQQ, closed out for 32. I had paid 35 for this. TQQQ, this is the NASDAQ leveraged ETF. I still felt comfortable holding this thing. I'm like, hey, I think the NASDAQ's going higher. But when I saw that in GLBE, I'm like, I want to just raise so much capital. Anything that is not like an A+ position, let me just get it off the books. That way I can really go big into GLBE. And then I put this on at 1039 when we got the pullback to the VWAP for $17.71. I put here, this name is putting in the highest day of volume since it IPO'd. Now with GLBE from these levels, I think this stock could easily double. You know, no joke, may have to wait 6 months or a year or 2 years for that to happen, but this is really a gem of a company to be buying at these levels. So yeah, I got in at $17 and change. This thing in one day, it's already marking at a 27% winner. Now, as this market is hitting what I think to be a really nice bottoming sequence for the growth stocks specifically, I am not going to play the game of like, bought one of the growth stocks, sold it after I had a 3% winner on it, and like I'm just jumping into and out of like all these different names. If I find something that's good and I think it has a long runway, I'm going to try to stick with it as long as I can. So GLBE is now my biggest position, marking at a nice winner. So yeah, it's always a good feeling when things line up that way. All right, and then, yeah, this is also very interesting. One last point about this is that GLBE, this is another key component here. So look how big that volume bar is. This is the highest volume a stock has ever traded. And look at this, we traded 24, almost 25 million shares today. The share float is only 108 million shares. So almost 25% of the float changed hands today. Now, do you think it's going from strong hands to weak hands or weak hands to strong hands? My baseline assumption is it's going from weak hands to strong hands, because the thing with a lot of these growth stocks is a key component. You might say like, why is everyone blowing out of these stocks if they're reporting halfway decent quarters? Like, why would they sell this stock if it's such a good company? And the reason why is because a lot of these players that are in this name, it doesn't matter if the company could double from 17, which for me is like, I want a company that I can buy for 17, it goes to 34. A lot of the players in this do not care, because for them, if it's at 17 and it goes up to 34, they're still not even anywhere near their break-even point. You know, it might be people that bought this company at 70. So even if the thing triples, you know, they're like, I don't care, I just need to get out of this thing and not have it marking as such a loser on my books. So yeah, I think there was a big opportunity here, and that was really like my highlight of the day. All right, so let's talk about moving forward. There are some names that I have highlighted here. So let's dive in just in case you're looking for some exposure. We have AVGO. This is a semiconductors name. This group is one of the top momentum sectors. This one is pushing right up to this top of monthly value area, looking pretty solid. What else do we have? A lot of the insurance companies are looking really good. WRB, this is one of the names from our Pristine Capital weekend watch list. More insurance names, UNM. This one had a good earnings report and it's moving out to new highs. So yeah, this insurance group definitely looking pretty solid. And also Chubb, this is another insurance company, up 2.12%. This one is looking pretty good. You can see this curling action over here. We're above the monthly points of control. What else is looking pretty good into tomorrow? HPQ, this name has been called out by one of our Pristine Capital members. He is absolutely awesome. I honestly should have taken this trade with him. Again, like, you know, for me, I keep it pretty concentrated. Like right now I'm fully allocated, so I can't really take this trade. But this one, you know, Warren Buffett is in this trade. If the entire market starts to recover and look a lot healthier, this just looks like a really good candidate. And, you know, just a very nice candle that it put in today. So HPQ, definitely one I'm going to keep on my watch list for sure. And then in terms of just like, you know, the action, again, I think what I'll end off with is now that the market is starting to move higher, you know, again, there's always that, oh my gosh, let me just like get giddy and start buying everything. You know, focus on your entry point, always focus on your risk management. And for me, what I want to stay open-minded to is right now I'm in a sequence where things are going pretty well. You know, the analysis that we did over the weekend, you know, it's pretty much coming to fruition this week. I want to make sure that if and when my trend model flips from 1 to a -1, that I don't get caught in a bias or, you know, just caught with a ton of risk, anything like that. If something changes, I want to make sure that I am changing as well, and I'm just maintaining that flexibility. With that being said, that about does it for this market recap video. Hope you all had an awesome trading session. As always, if you are interested in joining the Pristine Capital trading community, if you want these trade ideas, you know, this market analysis in real time, and not only that, like if you just want to interact with a group, I absolutely love attacking the markets with other people. Like if you want to work in that team setting, this is a perfect group for you. So definitely check us out at pristinecapital.net. With that said, hope you all have an awesome evening. See you all tomorrow.